The Premier League is finally back, which means one thing: entertainment. The first game of the season, Liverpool 4, Bournemouth 2. Some really good attacking work on display from Liverpool, but also some defensive weaknesses. Now today we are going to focus on Liverpool on the ball and Bournemouth in their defensive situations, simply because Liverpool were the team that were dominant and had the ball for larger spells of the game. And of course they achieved that by trying to play the ball out from the back, which they always like to do. But as always, Bournemouth wanted to put them under pressure. Bournemouth are not a team that are happy to sit deep behind the ball. They want to try and squeeze nice and high to stop teams playing out from the back. The problem for Bournemouth in this game was that Liverpool had too many solutions and the Bournemouth pressing structure was a little bit flawed. So we've got Bournemouth initially sort of in this 4-5-1 shape here, or 4-3-3. But what's going to happen is Scott in midfield is actually going to join a little bit higher, and it almost becomes a bit more of a 4-4-2 in situations like this, or almost a bit of a 4-2-4 as well. But what they're trying to do, Bournemouth, is they are trying to force the ball to Virgil van Dijk. That is going to be their trigger to then press a little bit harder. So Evan Nilsson will move to this side here, and he will stand pretty much on Konate. Meanwhile, Scott is going to keep himself on McAllister. That means the easy pass for Alisson is to Van Dijk. This is where Bournemouth then press. Scott is required to jump up towards Van Dijk, and the rest of the team is meant to follow. The problem is, the rest of the team didn't follow, and Bournemouth had a real problem in midfield. So you got one of the midfielders is going to match up with Szoboszlai, but for Adams he had a really difficult job because sometimes McAllister and Vert were both drifting to his side of the pitch, and he was tasked with marking both of them. And the reason why he had two players was because on this defensive line over here, Bournemouth wanted to keep the spare man. Bournemouth didn't want to be man-to-man in these positions, or perhaps they did but failed to do so, I'm not sure, but the centre-backs struggled jumping out into midfield, which meant at times Adams had two players. His priority was Vert because he's the danger man, but that meant that McAllister could drop a little bit deeper and he could get on the ball and play through the first phase really, really comfortably. The other thing that Liverpool could do is just play more direct, especially if Bournemouth did then lock on man-to-man. So let's say one of the centre-backs does go into midfield with Vert and Adams goes a little bit higher. Liverpool have the physical presences in the front line. You can just go long. Gakpo's quite a tall player for a winger. Ekitike is certainly not small, and Salah's a really good, strong player out wide. And this gave Liverpool so many solutions. We're going to take a look at some of these situations here, and we're going to start off with, of course, Bournemouth pressing high up the pitch. You can see Evan Nilsson initially moving forward into this position. Meanwhile, Scott is playing just a little bit deeper. And what Bournemouth are doing is leaving Virgil van Dijk free. So this is the shape that we were talking about earlier. You can see the evidence is there. If Alisson was to pass the ball towards Van Dijk, that would be Scott's cue to jump a little bit higher and be more aggressive. However, as we said, Liverpool had plenty of solutions. For example, situations like this where Bournemouth are pressing with a front two and they have no backup in midfield, which means McAllister is the freest man in all of Liverpool. He's standing there in the middle of the park and it's an easy pass to get out from the back. And the reason he's so free is because Vert is higher up the pitch, tying up Tyler Adams. So McAllister has so much time on the ball and it's incredibly easy to play through the first phase. Really bad pressing from Bournemouth, but also good problem solving from Liverpool. As we said though, they have more than one way of solving these problems. Here, Bournemouth are more aggressive. We can see more players pressing high. The midfield this time has connected a little bit better. And Alisson sends the ball long. And like I said, Cody Gakpo is tall for a winger. Here, Bournemouth are man-to-man, but that's really, really dangerous because there's lots of Liverpool players here that can cause serious, serious problems. Now, unsurprisingly, it was this that allowed Liverpool to take control. If you're pressing high but failing, the opposition are going to find a way through you and take control of the ball. We saw right at the start, Liverpool had those possession numbers and looked very comfortable on the ball. And I said right at the start of the video, they looked dangerous. So not just comfortable and happy in possession, but genuinely very threatening as they're moving the ball forward and looking to attack Bournemouth. And they are attacking Bournemouth in a very similar fashion to what we saw in the Community Shield game against Crystal Palace. And what this involves is overloading one side of the pitch and then sort of isolating the other side of the pitch. So the area that Liverpool were trying to overload, let's grab the tool, is on the left-hand side. You've got Van Dijk, you've got Kirkage, Gakpo, Vert, even Ekitike sort of gravitates towards the left. That's where he likes to play. McAllister, even Szoboszlai sometimes would go over there. And this is just a lot of Liverpool players all drifting over to this side of the pitch. And this is a very fun thing to watch. This is good football because these players in these positions are given freedom. Ekitike likes to play up front. He likes to be a striker, but he will drift towards the left-hand side. Gakpo starts as a left winger, but he's more than capable of making a run into a more central position. Wirtz will go towards the ball to try and play with the ball at his feet, but he'll also run off the ball past the opposition once again. All of these players sort of interchanging and moving into different positions It makes it incredibly difficult to follow them. For the Bournemouth defenders, they certainly can't go man-to-man because they would be pulled about all over the shop. So instead, they've got to be very good with their communication. They've got to pass players on really well. And that's difficult, particularly first game of the season with an entirely new defence pretty much. It's difficult for Bournemouth to do that. And that's why Liverpool had some success. The other reason why Liverpool had success, though, is because Bournemouth had to try and stop this, and the way to try and stop this is to get players over here to try and deal with them. So you move a load of players over here as the Bournemouth defenders, you move over into these positions to try and crowd out Liverpool. That leaves a lot of room on the other side of the pitch for a man called Mo Salah, who's pretty good. You know, when you give that man time on the ball and the ability to drift inside onto his left foot, and then Frimpong flies round on the overlap, taking the attention of Truffert, Salah is now got time on the ball, he's in dangerous positions, and that's always going to be a problem. We saw some of these threats for the first 2 goals for Liverpool. You can see them overloading the left-hand side here. So many players. And like I said, it's in these moments that you see different patterns of movement, players drifting off each other, people making different runs. And on this occasion, it's Wirtz starting up front, almost initially as a striker. He peels towards the left-hand side. That creates the space for Ekitike to go into. The pass comes through from McAllister. Really aggressive, vertical play throughout the game from Liverpool into this position. We'll come back to that in a second, though. But the aggressive pass into Ekitike, a little bit of luck as he sort of bundled his way through the first challenge. But I think something that has really impressed me since he's been at Liverpool is his low finishing, his ability to keep the ball on the floor while shooting. I think that's been quite impressive, but it's a good goal, and it came from that overload on the left-hand side. As did this one. Overload on the left-hand side, lots of Liverpool players all really close to each other. And this is what I'm talking about with players moving and creating space for other people to go into. Starts with Ekitike. He makes the run towards the left-hand side. So that's a striker, but he's not just standing on the penalty spot and being a focal point. He's moving into different positions. He's happy to drift towards the left. And it's him drifting towards the left that causes the Bournemouth defenders to drop a little bit deeper to the right-hand side, which opens up that room for Gakpo to now move towards the right. So he drifts inside with the pitch. He receives the ball. Again, his first touch is really good. And the finish is phenomenal. It's great attack and play. And just the other thing that I want to talk about with this is what it leads to on the far side. Now, this didn't necessarily lead to goals for Liverpool, but it shows where they could be dangerous. Because if you have all your players on the left and you switch it over to the right, you get Salah 1 versus 1. And like I said already, that's a dangerous situation for you to be in. And when Frimpong is willing to be that sort of relentless runner, flying around the outside, Salah coming inside into this position here is something to look out for. I do wonder if this season Frimpong simplifies Salah's game, because Frimpong will just overlap all day long and Salah is going to get this license to come inside, and from here it could be lethal. So far it's all been very, very positive for Liverpool. However, they did have one big problem, and what I would like you guys to do is quickly pause the video and get in the comments and let me know what you think the problem was based on what we've got on screen right now. So quickly pause the video, get your comment in the chat, and I will now explain. Liverpool were aggressive in this game. They scored 4 goals. Great, brilliant attacking play. But when you're so aggressive, you're going to put the ball at risk. There are going to be moments where you lose possession. If you try risky passes in the final third, you're going to lose the ball sometimes. What you need, therefore, is solid rest defence. And what we mean when we talk about rest defence is the shape, if you like, of the rest of the team when you're attacking. So let's say Wirtz has got the ball. What is the rest of the team doing to be ready for a defensive transition? In the case of Liverpool, they're all flying forward super high up the pitch and leaving loads of room in behind. So players like McAllister and Szoboszlai, they're good energetic players. They will put in a lot of tackles in a game, but are they naturally, instinctively defensive-minded players that are destroyers in midfield? They're not. Like I said, they will work hard, but you cannot change a human's instincts. These guys, their whole careers have been players that want to get on the ball and play, not be destroying midfielders, despite the good defensive work that they do. You lack that proper ball winner in the middle of the park. And their instinct is to gamble forward, and that left so much room. And to tell the truth, an unforgivable amount of room. I think Liverpool were terrible defending the transitions. Konate in particular had an absolute nightmare performance. It was awful, and I seriously rate this guy. He's a very good defender, but his positioning was all over the shop. Liverpool will be hoping that's sort of a new season, start of a new season thing, a little bit of rust, and he's going to warm up and get better. But I do think structurally there are some concerns, and when this Bournemouth team were able to win the ball, overturn it and go forward, they looked so dangerous, and Liverpool didn't have an answer. We can see some of that sort of aggression from the Liverpool team here. Liverpool are high up the pitch, they're playing on the ball. You can see the three midfielders here marked, and they're quite high up the pitch, right? They're quite high up the pitch at 2-0, which is always a little bit questionable. Should you be safer at this point? Who knows? 3 players up the pitch, but they lose possession. Bournemouth win the ball back, and your team cannot be that vulnerable. Your team cannot be that vulnerable that quickly. And I cannot understand for the life of me what Kirkes and Konate are doing. Why on earth are they that high when the player has got the ball? They are far too high. The positioning is awful. There is so much space in behind them, and they are never going to make that ground up. If the pass forward is good, you are not going to be able to make up that ground. And of course, it led to a goal. And I guess something else that we should point out, actually, is just this area here. Lack of disruptors, lack of players really stopping Bournemouth, even if it's with tactical fouls. There's no one there breaking up the play. Too easy for Bournemouth to transition. That gets Bournemouth back into the game. We then see something similar not too much later in the game. Liverpool with lots of players really high up the pitch. There's several players in the box here, and they lose the ball. And the big concern for me here, again, as a Liverpool person, would be, what's going on there? You're 2-1 up, first game of the season. Your position have got a bit of momentum. How on earth are you not protecting the edge of the penalty area? When you lose the ball, you need to have players ready in position to recover the ball for your team, to stop this. It's bad from Konate. Again, the positioning. Your centre-backs are almost vertical in a line with each other. That's crazy. That's crazy. And it gets worse for Konate. He then makes an awful decision to go over towards the ball when it just wasn't his place to. It's kind of a collection of errors, and it's a goal. And this was very nearly Liverpool throwing the game away. Now, of course, Liverpool eventually showed the courage and the personality and also the quality to win the game 4-2, so it doesn't matter. 3 points on the board. But if I was a Liverpool fan, I would be concerned. I think defensively it was a really poor performance. I think Virgil van Dijk's going to have to do quite a lot of work this season. I think he's going to be quite exposed and quite isolated. And if he isn't as amazing and incredible and stupidly good as what he was last year, Liverpool might have a bit of a problem. So on the ball, Liverpool are very exciting. I think they're quite fun to watch. Defensively, though, they're also exciting to watch because it's not very good right now. Liverpool do need to improve, but first day of the season, they've got 3 points in a tricky game, an emotional game as well. Fair play to them for getting a result. I think they deserve to win still, but there are certainly areas that they need to improve. But that, of course, is a conversation for the future, really. In terms of breaking down this game, we've just done it. Liverpool won 4-2. That's how they did it. So that's all we've got for today's video. So thank you guys very much for watching. I hope you have enjoyed it. If you have, please leave a like and also subscribe. But apart from that, I'll see you in the next one.